back to permitting issues with the Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, Federal Onshore Lands, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, Federal Offshore Leasing. So you've got that group. And then as we talked about, you've got the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Any project involving the interstate movement of oil or natural gas, refined products, like gasoline, FERC has approval of those. So there are a lot of projects pending before FERC. And it's a result of the fact that right now the United States is producing record amounts of oil, almost 12 million barrels a day. And with that increase, we are lacking infrastructure. In other words, producers in the Permian Basin, West Texas, will tell you they can't get the oil out fast enough. Same thing in North Dakota. There are sections of the Northeast where the natural gas can't get to market. In West Texas, the excess natural gas can't get to market. Well, the growth has been known for months, in fact, even for a few years. So projects were started and they're in the approval processes. Right. So, the point being that any delay is not good. A delay in getting a permit, a delay in getting approval to start construction on a project. There are 13 liquefied natural gas export facilities that are currently in front of FERC to be approved. If they don't get approved, you're talking about a delay in starting construction. Well, anytime there's a delay in a project, it means an increased cost in some form or fashion. At the very least, a delay in a project means a delay in starting to derive revenue from that project. It's not in service. You're not getting paid by the customers for whom you built that project for. And in the case of the oil and gas industry, major projects like that they're causing bottlenecks if they don't get approved and we don't start construction as soon as we can.
So they always want to ask, consumers see all that reflected in prices, mostly at the pump. Do you expect any of this shutdown to trickle down to the consumers?
I wouldn't say, not in the oil and gas industry. Not really. Like I said, we are producing a record amount of crude oil. The refineries have been running at very high levels. This week, in fact, there was a report that we added 8 million barrels of oil to the nation's storage, places like Cushing, Oklahoma. So we've got a surplus right now. So I don't see an immediate impact. Longer term, maybe. One of the things that we look at is the number of wells that have been drilled, but they've not been completed because they're waiting on pipeline infrastructure to take the oil or to take the natural gas. And the last thing I looked at, the federal government was reporting there's probably somewhere across the country in the neighborhood of 8,000 wells that haven't been completed. They're still waiting on, in most cases, waiting on some type of pipeline capacity to actually move that to market. So to me, that would be the biggest issue is projects in front of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is part of the Department of Energy, that can't get approved and maybe get delayed. Obviously, we don't know how long this is going to happen.
So here in Tulsa and in Oklahoma, our oil and gas is a huge chunk of our local economy.
Sure.
How could the federal government shutdown affect some of our, when we think of it from an economic standpoint, for how things happen here in Tulsa? Because we're all one way or another affected by how well the oil and gas industry performs here in Tulsa.
Sure. I think any of the midstream companies that are in Tulsa, and these are the ones that are the kind of pipeline storage, marketing, trading type entities, even the refineries. If there are projects out there that these companies have been counting on to be in place by a certain time to start generating revenue, then yes, we could have an impact. But like I said, I don't think we're at the point yet where the delays in the permitting and approvals are going to have a big economic impact. But if we're still, sitting here 60 days from now and this thing is the same situation, sure, now you've pushed back approvals and permits for 90 days instead of, 30 days.
And could that trickle down to some of the contracting jobs or things like that were, a lot of our oil and gas, what do we call it? Our services companies?
Sure, oil field service companies, construction companies, your engineering, procurement, and construction companies. Sure, because when these projects are put before FERC, for instance, there is a timeline. There's a proposed schedule, and then the owners of these projects, they'll put them on their website, and they'll say, here's what our proposed schedule is. And sure, if you start pushing that back, now the entities they've contracted for the various services, sure, they're going to get pushed back. It's kind of like, well, instead of us being able to break ground March 1st, now we're looking at June 1st or July 1st. Well, that backs up the whole supply chain as well.